In the vibrant and ever-buzzing city of Charlotte, North Carolina, Carter Freeman's story was a quiet symphony of hard work, quiet dignity, and the unyielding hope that life could be better than the circumstances one was born into. Carter was a man shaped by struggle and perseverance. Born to a mechanic father and a seamstress mother who both taught him the value of sweat and honesty, he had grown up knowing that nothing in life was free, but that every sacrifice carried the seed of opportunity. From his earliest years, Carter had been fascinated by the bustling kitchen where aromas of spices and sizzling meats danced like music. His family's small restaurant was a humble dream that felt both like a blessing and a burden. At 21, Carter took his first real steps into the world when he landed a job washing dishes at a small soul food joint named Mama's Kitchen, where the kitchen was hot, the hours long, and respect was earned the hard way. Every day, he scrubbed pots and pans with worn hands, learning the rhythm of the kitchen from the ground up, memorizing recipes whispered by seasoned cooks, and watching servers weave through the tables with practiced grace. His eyes sparkled with quiet ambition, but he kept it tucked away, fearing the world would judge him before he could prove his worth. 2 years later, Carter's dedication was rewarded with a promotion to lead server, a position that brought him closer to the pulse of the restaurant and its community. He greeted customers with a warm smile, remembered their favorite dishes, and carried himself with a humility that masked a fierce determination to own something one day. With a small inheritance from his grandmother's modest savings and a few loans carefully managed, Carter opened Freeman's Table at age 25, a dream realized but never detached from the grind that brought him there. The restaurant blossomed quickly into a beloved Charlotte staple, celebrated for its rich flavors and the soulful spirit Carter infused into every corner. Yet despite his success, Carter chose to keep working as a server during busy nights and weekends, believing that the heartbeat of his restaurant lay not in a corner office but on the floor where stories unfolded and connections were made. Beneath the glow of his thriving business and the aroma of his celebrated dishes lurked a shadow Carter struggled to escape. Love had not been kind to him. 15 times over the past decade, women had come into his life with sparkling eyes and eager hearts, only to disappear the moment they realized Carter was just a waiter, not the affluent owner they imagined. Each rejection seared into his soul, leaving behind scars that money and accolades could never mend. The sting wasn't just in losing love, it was in the betrayal of hope itself, the slow erosion of belief that someone could see him for who he truly was rather than the social label pinned on his apron. Loneliness became an unwelcome companion, a silent echo in the clatter of plates and laughter that filled his restaurant every night. Then came the day Emily Rivers entered the scene, as luminous and unshakable as a morning star. Nadia, a documentary filmmaker known for her empathetic lens and relentless pursuit of truth, arrived at Freeman's Table with no fanfare, just an air of quiet confidence and genuine warmth. Unlike the usual clientele, Emily didn't command attention with flashy displays or haughty airs. Instead, she carried herself with an easy grace, her laughter like a soft melody weaving through the hum of conversation, her eyes scanning the room with curiosity and kindness. For weeks, Carter observed her from the sidelines, intrigued not only by her beauty but by the way she treated every staff member with respect, calling servers by name, tipping generously, and never rushing or complaining. Emily was different, and Carter's guarded heart dared to wonder if she might be the one to finally see beyond the apron and the role society forced upon him. Their first real conversation happened one quiet evening when Emily listened alone, her laptop open and documents spread across the table. Carter approached with the ease of a seasoned server, but beneath his calm exterior, his heart fluttered with nervous hope. "Good evening, ma'am. I'm Carter, owner of Freeman's Table. I just wanted to personally thank you for your support." Emily looked up, surprised and pleased, her eyes lighting up with a warm smile. The owner himself, I'm honored. I'm Nadia, she replied. Their talk flowed effortlessly, winding through Carter's story of building the restaurant from scratch, his vision for its future, and the challenges that came with balancing business with authenticity. Nadia's interest was genuine, her questions thoughtful, and Carter found himself captivated not only by her intellect, but by her passion, and the fire that matched his own. Over the next few months, their friendship blossomed. Emily brought fresh energy to Carter's world, sharing stories from her travels, inspiring him to see beyond the kitchen, while Carter offered Amelia a taste of community and roots that grounded her busy life. Yet, beneath the surface, Carter wrestled with a secret he hadn't told Emily still worked as a server, worried that the truth might shatter the fragile trust between them. Their bond faced its ultimate test when Emily invited Carter to an arts festival, a lively gathering where the city's soul came alive in colors, music, and laughter. Among Nadia's friends, Carter was introduced simply as the heart of Freeman's table, but a careless question about his actual role made Carter's chest tighten. Did Emily see him as the man he was, or the man society expected him to be? Later, under a blanket of stars on a rooftop overlooking Charlotte's glittering skyline, Carter bared his soul. He shared the pain of past rejections, the choice to remain humble and connected to his roots, and the loneliness that had shadowed his triumphs. Emily listened, her gaze steady and filled with quiet reverence. I don't care if you're a waiter, an owner, or both, she whispered. I care about the man who loves what he does and lives with honesty. That's the man I want. Their relationship deepened, rooted in vulnerability and mutual respect, yet the world beyond their bubble was less kind. Rumors and whispers questioned Carter's place, doubting how a successful businessman could still wear the server's apron. Investors hesitated, competitors scoffed, and social circles whispered. But Emily stood firm, advocating for Carter with fierce loyalty and a voice that could not be ignored. Together, they transformed Freeman's Table from a restaurant into a movement, a gathering place where stories mingled with spices, where apprenticeships lifted young chefs from underserved neighborhoods, and where the art of hospitality was more than a job. It was a calling. Nadia's camera captured the stories behind the scenes, giving voice to the unseen heroes of the kitchen and the farmers who nurtured the land. Carter's vision expanded beyond business into legacy, building bridges where once there were walls. 1 year later, Carter stood before a packed crowd at the Southern Foodways Alliance conference, his voice resonant and steady as he spoke of dignity, identity, and the power of authenticity in a world obsessed with appearances. Emily sat in the front row, pride shining in her eyes, knowing the man she loved had finally stepped fully into his own light. As applause thundered through the hall, Carter and Emily stepped into the night hand in hand, ready to write the next chapter of a story forged not in illusion, but in truth, resilience, and love that sees beyond the surface. Despite the blossoming success and love that Carter and Emily shared, life's tests had only just begun. The city of Charlotte, with its vibrant pulse and dynamic culture, was also a place where old prejudices quietly lingered beneath shiny new facades. Carter soon realized that stepping out of the shadows meant confronting not only societal expectations, but also the internal battles of those around him. Investors who once praised his vision began whispering doubts in boardrooms. How long can a waiter owner sustain this business? A phrase that cut deeper than any personal rejection. Nadia, fiercely protective yet pragmatic, pushed Carter to see beyond the noise. They're afraid, she said one evening as they walked through the busy streets, the scent of jasmine from nearby gardens mixing with city air. They don't understand a man who refuses to choose between humility and ambition. But Carter wasn't immune to the sting. In moments of quiet solitude, he wrestled with feelings of inadequacy, wondering if his past, the label pinned on him since childhood, would forever tether him to a role society assigned rather than the man he was becoming. Their relationship faced pressure as well. Friends of Emily questioned her choices, unable to reconcile the image of a successful filmmaker with a partner who spent nights waiting tables. Carter's closest allies worried she might be a fleeting chapter in his story, fearing heartbreak. Fueled by social divides. Yet, Carter and Emily built a sanctuary in their shared dreams and unwavering belief in one another. Together, they launched Roots Rising, a community program inside Freeman's Table designed to nurture young talent from Charlotte's underserved neighborhoods. They offered culinary scholarships, mentorships, and workshops on cultural heritage through food. Every week, the restaurant buzzed not just with customers, but with hopeful apprentices learning the dance of knives and spices, laughter mixing with lessons on dignity and resilience. One afternoon, as Carter was training a group on knife skills, a teenage girl named Tiana hesitated, her hands trembling. "I'm scared I'm not good enough," she confessed quietly. Carter knelt beside her, his voice steady and kind. "Scared means you care. But the only way to grow is to keep cutting, keep trying. Mistakes don't define you, your courage does." Tiana nodded, determination sparking in her eyes, and with a practiced flick, sliced through the vegetables with newfound confidence. Meanwhile, Nadia's documentary capturing the stories behind Freeman's Table premiered at the Charlotte Film Festival, earning standing ovations and heartfelt praise. Viewers were moved by the intimate portraits of staff who had overcome hardship, the farmers who cultivated heirloom crops, and Carter's philosophy of leadership rooted in respect and authenticity. Critics hailed it as a love letter to community and the transformative power of food. The documentary's success brought new opportunities and new challenges. National media began calling, hungry for the feel-good story of a man who broke molds and built bridges. Yet with attention came scrutiny. Some questioned Carter's choice to still don a waiter's apron during peak hours, labeling it a gimmick or a marketing stunt. Others doubted the sincerity of his rise, speculating about behind-the-scenes deals or privileged backers. Carter faced the same old question in new clothes. Would the world ever see him as more than his role? More than his label? One rainy evening, as he wiped down tables after closing, Emily joined him, her eyes reflecting the storm outside. "Do you ever wonder if they'll ever stop judging you by the apron and start seeing the man beneath?" she asked softly. Carter smiled, exhaustion and hope mingling in his gaze. "Sometimes. But then I remember why I started, because I wanted to build something real. Something no label can define or diminish." She reached out, taking his hand. "And that's exactly the man I love." Their shared resolve became their fortress. Together, they faced board meetings where Carter's credentials were scrutinized, social events where whispers followed his every move, and moments of doubt when the weight of the past threatened to silence his voice. Yet, with each obstacle, Carter grew stronger, not just as a businessman, but as a beacon of what resilience and authenticity could achieve. In one pivotal meeting with potential investors, Carter stood before a room of skeptical faces, the weight of years behind him. He spoke not as a waiter or even just a restaurant owner, but as a visionary who understood that food was a language that spoke of culture, community, and hope. "Our value," he said, voice steady, "is not just in the dishes we serve, but in the stories we tell, stories of heritage, of struggle, of triumph. When we honor the roots of our ingredients and the people who nurture them, we build bridges that no boardroom politics can break." The room fell silent, then erupted into applause. Deals were signed, partnerships forged, and Freeman's Table expanded into new neighborhoods and cities, bringing its message of authenticity far beyond Charlotte. The young apprentices, once uncertain and afraid, became the new torchbearers, carrying forward Carter's vision with pride and passion. Years later, Carter stood once more on a stage, but this time as the keynote speaker at a national culinary conference. His words rippled through the crowd, a testament to perseverance and the power of truth. We live in a world eager to "Put us in boxes," he said. "But real strength is breaking free from those boxes and inviting others to do the same." Love, respect, and honesty are the ingredients that nourish not just a meal, but a life worth living. Emily watched from the front row, tears of pride glistening as Carter's story echoed in the hearts of thousands. Their journey had been anything but easy, but it had been rooted in the messy, beautiful truth that who we are beyond our titles is what truly defines us. As the applause swelled, Carter and Emily shared a glance that said everything. Together, they had rewritten the narrative, proving that love and success could coexist, unbound by labels and full of grace. As Freeman's table grew into a beacon of hope and innovation, Carter and Emily found themselves at the crossroads of opportunity and responsibility. With expansion came the challenge of maintaining the authenticity that had made their restaurant beloved. It wasn't just about opening new locations. It was about preserving the soul of the place, the stories behind every dish, and the community that had nurtured them from the beginning. One evening, after a long day managing operations and media interviews, Carter sat alone on the rooftop terrace of their flagship location. The city lights of Charlotte shimmered below like scattered stars, but his mind was restless. Despite the success, he felt a subtle disconnect growing between the restaurant and the neighborhood it once served so intimately. The new investors pushed for efficiency and scale, sometimes clashing with Carter's vision of cultural preservation. Emily joined him quietly, handing him a steaming cup of mint tea. "You're thinking too much," she said softly. "Remember why we started?" Carter nodded, grateful for her presence. "I just don't want us to lose who we are. The people who come here, they want more than food. They want connection." She smiled, brushing a hand through his curls. "Then let's give them that. Let's invite the community into the story. Let them see their own reflections in our kitchen, on our menus, in our hearts." Inspired, they launched the Community Table Initiative monthly events where local artists, storytellers, and farmers were invited to share their work and wisdom alongside themed dinners. Each gathering celebrated Charlotte's diverse cultures, weaving together music, food, and conversation in ways that honored heritage while sparking new creativity. At one such event, a local spoken-word poet named Marcus recited verses about identity, struggle, and resilience that echoed Carter's own journey. The room was electric with emotion, the barriers between guests dissolving in shared humanity. Carter watched from the sidelines, heart swelling with pride. "This," he whispered to Nadia, "this is what I want to build." Yet, success never comes without its shadows. Rival restaurateurs and critics began casting doubts, accusing Carter of exploiting cultural narratives for profit. Social media debates sparked fierce discussions. Was Freeman's Table truly authentic, or was it a polished story designed for acclaim? Carter faced these critiques head-on in a candid interview. "Our story is lived every day," he said. "It's not a product. It's a pulse of people, of place, of passion. We're not perfect, but we're honest. And that honesty is what keeps us growing." Behind the scenes, Emily battled her own demons. The spotlight that followed their rise brought pressure to conform, to polish imperfections. At times, she wondered if the filmmaker who once chronicled raw truths could continue without losing herself to the demands of success. One rainy afternoon, Emily confided in Carter. "Sometimes I miss the days when the camera was just a witness, not a judge." Carter squeezed her hand. "You're still that storyteller. And now you have the power to change the narrative." Together, they began mentoring young creatives in Charlotte, offering workshops on authentic storytelling and resilience in the face of societal expectations. The months rolled on, seasons shifting like chapters in their story. Carter found new joy not just in the kitchen, but in witnessing the growth of those he mentored. Tiana became a sous chef, leading with confidence and grace. Angela, inspired by Carter's support, opened her own fusion bistro, blending flavors with daring and heart. One crisp fall evening, Carter and Emily hosted a gala fundraiser for local food education programs. The room sparkled with supporters, their voices lifted in laughter and hope. Carter stood to speak, the microphone warm in his hand, the weight of years behind his words. We began with a simple hope that food could be more than nourishment. It could be a bridge, a lesson, a spark. Tonight, we celebrate not just what we've built, but what we've become. A community bound by respect, courage, and truth. Applause thundered, but Carter's eyes sought Nadia's in the crowd. In her gaze, he found affirmation, a shared promise to continue the work. To keep breaking molds and building bridges. No matter the storms ahead, their journey was far from over. But Carter and Emily knew this. True success wasn't measured in awards or accolades, but in the hearts they touched, the stories they lifted, and the love they nurtured not just between them, but for everyone who walked through the doors of Freeman's Table. Several months after the gala, Carter and Emily faced a new test that neither had anticipated. An unexpected economic downturn shook Charlotte's small businesses, hitting the food and hospitality sector especially hard. Freeman's Table, despite its growing acclaim, was not immune. The vibrant crowds thinned, expenses rose, and tension simmered beneath the surface of their flourishing dream. Carter found himself waking earlier, running numbers late into the night, balancing between holding onto their vision and the brutal realities of survival. Nadia, meanwhile, felt the weight of public expectation crush down harder. Her documentaries and storytelling had put a spotlight on their success story, and with it came pressure to maintain a facade of perfection. She struggled to reconcile the authentic, sometimes messy truth of their journey with the polished image audiences wanted to see. The camera that once gave her freedom now felt like a chain. One cold December evening, after a long day of troubleshooting with vendors and staff, Carter and Emily sat quietly in their favorite corner of the restaurant. The once bustling dining room was nearly empty, the soft hum of the heater the only sound. "I don't want us to lose what made this place special," Emily whispered, her eyes tired but determined. "But I'm scared we're becoming just another business trying to survive." Carter reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "It's okay to be scared. But fear won't build this dream. It'll only break us if we let it. We have to hold on to our purpose, even when the world feels like it's shifting beneath us." Together, they decided to pivot, not by chasing trends or cutting corners, but by deepening their roots in the community. They launched a series of cooking workshops and storytelling nights open to anyone, inviting people from all walks of life to share food, culture, and their own stories of resilience. The restaurant became a haven, a place where hope and humanity mixed as richly as spices in their signature dishes. One of the most powerful nights was a gathering called Flavors of Home, where immigrant families brought dishes from their countries alongside tales of journey and survival. Carter watched as a Syrian refugee taught the crowd how to make muhammara, while a Ghanaian grandmother recounted the meaning behind her jollof rice recipe. Emily captured it all on film, her lens loving the raw, unfiltered emotion she once feared losing. As the months passed, Freeman's Table began to thrive again, not just financially, but in spirit. Customers returned, drawn not just by the food, but by the warmth and authenticity that filled the air. Carter and Nadia's story became a beacon of hope, proof that even in hardship, community and truth could be the greatest ingredients for success. But the greatest test was still to come. One morning, an unexpected visitor arrived at Freeman's Table, a food critic known for his sharp tongue and relentless standards. His review would make or break the future of the restaurant. Carter and Emily prepared nervously, pouring their hearts into every detail that day. When the review finally published, it was more than a critique. It was a celebration of their journey, their commitment to authenticity, and their courage to stand firm in a challenging world. The headline read, "Freeman's Table, a taste of resilience, a story of soul. Relief and pride washed over them, but they knew the journey wasn't over. It never would be. With each challenge, they grew stronger, more rooted in the values that had started it all. Love, honesty, and the courage to be real. Together, Carter and Emily continued to build not just a restaurant or a career, but a legacy of heart and hope for everyone who believed in the power of truth and community. As the seasons shifted and the cool breeze of spring swept through Charlotte, Freeman's Table had become more than a restaurant. It was a sanctuary. The laughter of workshop attendees, the clinking of glasses during storytelling nights, and the aromas of spices and simmering stews filled the air with a warmth that no downturn could extinguish. Carter and Emily had not only weathered the storm, they had transformed it into a rebirth. On a quiet Sunday morning, the two sat together in the sunlit back room of the restaurant, the space now dedicated to community gatherings and creative collaboration. Carter sipped his coffee slowly, watching Emily jot notes for her latest documentary. The walls around them bore framed photos from their journey, faces of the families who'd shared recipes, snapshots from the gala, candid moments of joy and struggle alike. "It's hard to believe how far we've come," Carter said, his voice thick with emotion. Emily looked up, her eyes reflecting the same quiet pride. "Sometimes I still can't believe it. From that tiny kitchen in my apartment to this. But more than that, it's about the people. The stories that filled these walls, the hands that helped build this place." Carter smiled. "You reminded me what matters. That business is about people, not just profits." She nodded, "And that truth is what brought us back when everything else tried to pull us down." Their journey hadn't been easy. The early days of rejection and loneliness had left scars deeper than either had realized. Carter's 10 years of heartbreak and Nadia's struggle to find her voice in a noisy world had forged them into a team bound by resilience and honesty. They learned that vulnerability was not weakness but the foundation of true connection. That afternoon, a group of young chefs gathered in the kitchen classroom, eager for Carter's mentorship. Among them was Marcus, a shy teenager with dreams bigger than his neighborhood, and Tiana, a bright-eyed woman determined to make her mark despite the barriers she faced. Carter saw in them the same fire he once carried and knew the importance of nurturing it. As Carter guided Marcus through the nuances of spice blending and flavor balance, Emily prepared her camera for the next segment, a feature on the young chefs and their dreams. Her voiceover would speak of legacy, courage, and the power of giving back. Later that evening, the restaurant was alive with energy as guests filled the dining room for the monthly storytelling dinner. This event was Nadia's vision, an opportunity for voices often unheard to find a place at the table. Families, artists, entrepreneurs, and dreamers came together, each sharing a slice of their lives, their struggles, and their hopes. That night, a soft-spoken man named Elijah told the story of his journey from a refugee camp to becoming a community leader in Charlotte. His words resonated deeply, weaving threads of pain and hope that touched every listener. Carter caught Nadia's eye across the room, and they shared a silent understanding. This was why they did what they did. Months later, an invitation arrived for Emily to present her documentary at an international film festival. It was a recognition, not only of her talent but of the powerful narrative she had helped create, a story of love, truth, and the strength found in embracing imperfection. On the day of the screening, Carter stood beside her in the packed auditorium. As the credits rolled and the audience rose in applause, he whispered, "You did it. We did it." Emily smiled, her heart full. "No, they did it. The community, the stories, the people who trusted me to tell their truth. Their story had become a beacon, proof that authenticity and compassion could transform not only lives but entire communities." Carter's restaurant continued to flourish, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. A place where every dish told a story, every guest was family, And every struggle was honored as part of the journey. One crisp autumn evening, as golden leaves danced outside the windows, Carter and Emily stood on the rooftop terrace overlooking the city skyline. The lights of Charlotte twinkled below like stars brought to earth. In that quiet moment, they reflected on the winding road that led them here, the heartbreaks, the courage to be vulnerable, and the grace to grow. Emily took Carter's hand gently. "I never imagined success would feel like this, not just a trophy, but a quiet peace." Carter squeezed her hand, his voice steady, "Because it's not about success alone. It's about being true to who we are and finding people who see us that way." As they looked out over the city, their hearts were full not with illusions of perfection, but with the deep, unshakable joy of having found a place where love, honesty, and community thrived. Their story wasn't just about food or business. It was about the courage to be seen, the power of forgiveness, and the transformative magic that happens when people choose to see beyond appearances and embrace each other fully. And so, in the heart of Charlotte, Carter and Emily continued to build not just a restaurant or a career, but a legacy of hope, resilience, and authentic connection that would inspire generations to come. Thank you for joining Carter and Amelia on this journey. If their story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. Remember, true success comes when we lead with honesty and compassion and choose to see people not just for what they seem, but for who they really are.